Hey, welcome back to the channel. Have you ever wanted a disc that you can throw full power at a basket without worrying about throwing it 200 feet past it? And with the flight characteristics of a literal brick, like a brick that you take off your house, and you hold that in your hand and you try and throw that, it's a brick. I have the perfect disc for you if you're looking for that, and that is the Berg. There's also a reason why you probably shouldn't have this disc. And I'm gonna transition to a guy that really knows this disc, and this is the whole reason I have this disc. Joe Mama Games, take over.
Hey Aiden, thanks for having me on your channel. Today we're going to be reviewing the Berg. So the Berg is a gnarly disc. This is custom dyed from one of my really close mates in Australia. It's supposed to look like the ocean, but now it just looks like trash with the sky over it, but I still really like it. The Berg is an interesting specimen. It is not a clear consensus across the board on whether people like it or not. Now, when I personally started throwing the Berg, I wanted to die. I hated this disc with a burning passion because you need a lot of confidence to throw it. It's you either full send it on a very confident line or because the issue is that this thing flies like a brick. It's like a really heavy brick made out of like neodymium metal. So whatever angle you put the Berg on is the angle that it's going to go. Unless you want it to hold the angle, and then whenever you want it to do something, it kind of does the opposite thing. So then you have to predict for the opposite thing. But when you predict for the opposite thing, it actually does the correct thing. Oh, I forgot to add, it only does this in tournament. It only does, whenever it matters, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. That's a good like disclaimer to put on the bottom. Will not do what you want it to do, but then it will do what you want it to do. So let's throw this. I'm gonna compare it to a few discs. We have the Nova, Berg, McPro AVR. I know, I have one. The Toro, a triple signed Paul McBeth AVR. I didn't have to put the triple signed part in there, but I did. First, let's throw the Berg. I'm gonna put on a hyzer. It holds the line. Cool. Compare that to a beat-in AVR. Compare that to a Toro. So you know, the disc actually reminds me a lot of the Nova, that last one I threw, with the frustrations that I have with it. I would much rather do an upshot with a Toro than the Berg because I know it's going to do what I want it to do. The Berg has that possibility. I really enjoyed throwing the XT Nova when I got it. It was actually a crucial part of my bag for a long time. But there was always times where it would come out of that consistency, the slightest like touch of a headwind, and it's doing something completely different. That's why I don't like throwing it a lot. I will say the Berg is at least consistent on how it sits and the distance it goes. It will go no longer than like 250, maybe, and that's like a full ass smash. And then when you're putting that much power on it, if there's any kind of a headwind, it is not doing what you want it to do. I mean, look at the profile on it. It's like supposed to have the aerodynamics of a refrigerator. So actually, I'm looking at this now and mine's kind of warped. So it's a fun utility disc. I would definitely suggest it for that. It's a good disc to have in the bag, but like don't expect to be throwing it off to the tee. It's just a good little upshot disc. Thanks for having me. I rate the Berg a 6 out of 10. I would rate something like the Boss a 10 out of 10 or a Destroyer or something you can like really rely on. I can't rely on this for everything, but I guess for upshots. Controversial opinion, probably. Subscribe to Aiden or else I find you and I force you to only throw Bergs the rest of your life. Subscribe, please.
All right, thank you, Joe Mama Games, for telling us a little bit about the Berg. Now, I'm gonna tell you why you probably don't want it and the side effects of this disc and my overall opinion so far, because I've owned this disc for about 6 months and I've actually been working it in the bag for the past month and just testing this disc out to see if it's actually worth putting in my bag. And honestly, I've actually found a pretty cool sweet spot with this disc. Over the past month, I actually lost my main throwing putter. It was my Luster Invader that I loved so much, and I've owned that disc for so long, and I needed an excuse to start throwing a new putter. So I was like, what disc could I possibly put in my bag to kind of compare to this Invader, which I use for my upshots? And that was the Berg. I just had a Berg laying around, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it one try for 1 month. And I actually learned quite a bit about this disc. The one thing I really like about the Berg is that it sits so well, a little too well. My power control with this thing is kind of off at the moment. I end up coming up short a lot of the times with this disc once I aim at my target because I'm just expecting it to go way further like my Luster Invader. The Berg is the polar opposite of that. It just does not want to go as far as you want. I have to really beef on this thing, but that's also a cool thing. That means you can throw it really hard and know you're not going to overthrow the basket, like I said in the intro. So I do have two Bergs with me. This is, I believe, Casaplast baseline, or it says K3 line. This feels kind of like DX plastic, just a bit more durable. And I also have a Berg in the K1 line, which this has been my main one over the past month. Yes, as I said, this is made by Casaplast. I actually don't really know them that well. I did throw one of their discs, and it's called the Rico. And it's very similar to my Invader, so I might actually invest in one of those. And that's kind of like a glidier, flat version of this if I had to compare that to this, which it's nowhere near this. I have a Luna with me, which one fights better for me. This is my main throwing putter, and this is going to be something that's just like a utility disc in a way, kind of like my Raptors. All right, let's throw these discs out on the field. This Berg has actually been approved by the PDGA since 2015, but it didn't really become popular until over the past few years. Now, one of the things people really don't like about this disc is the feel. It feels very kind of like a cookie jar lid. If you had to envision that, you just take it off a cookie jar, you know? That's exactly how this feels. It has such a weird indent that just doesn't make sense. It just feels really odd, and that's some reasons that people really don't like this disc, and I kind of agree with them, but at the same time, it kind of feels really nice because it feels like a disc that you just can't push. Now, this slot is kind of like the zones, as Joey said in his little introduction there. He kind of likes the zone a bit more when it comes to confidence. He will throw it on an upshot and know that the zone is going to be always there, or his Toro, I guess I should say, not his zone, because he doesn't have one. But it's the same disc, let's be real. And like he said, the Berg, he doesn't have that confidence with, and that's something I also believe in. As I've said, I've been going through this over the past few months. This Berg is not mine, so I've actually never thrown it in this plastic. Let's see how it compares real quick. My normal Berg, my K1 Berg that I've been throwing for a bit, this is kind of like the premium plastic in a way for K1, I would imagine. I don't really know them that well, so let me know in the comments down below, how much Casaplast do you throw? So just a simple straight throw, just to see if it gets down to the ground pretty quick, and it did quite well there. The average distance you're probably going to get with this disc is, if you've got an arm, 300 feet if you're just trying to muzzle it down there like a normal throwing putter. But if you're doing upshots, keep it under 200, probably like 190 area. That's what you're really going to want. This is a K3 Berg. It feels a lot flippier. Throw it into the ground. I gotta get that back. Didn't really put it on the same line, but I kind of kept it low. Depending what you're trying to actually use this disc for, if you want it to be like a short approach disc, I've seen people putt with this. I don't like that. Don't putt with this. I mean, if you want to, you can, if that's just your preference, but I've seen people main putt with these. It's crazy. The feel just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why you would putt with it. That's my Luna. Just put it kind of on a straight line. And honestly, you can tell that just wanted to keep going and keep that height. It's such a weird disc, man. The Berg, let's keep throwing it. All right, for the next three throws here, I'm gonna throw all three, the Luna and the Bergs. I'm just gonna give these all way more height. It was better than the first throw I did with it, but it's still a good throw. Let's put this Berg a lot higher, please. Just give it height. Aim at those trees up there. There you go. Good height there with that Berg. Still got down pretty quickly. The one thing that a lot of people say with the Berg is that it doesn't really have a stable fade. I disagree. Maybe depending on the plastic you get it in, because the K3, the green Berg that I have there, honestly has a pretty slow fade and just kind of sits. But with the K1 Berg, the red one, it kind of one that gets left pretty quickly. So it definitely wants to drop more than fade, but it does have a little bit of a fade, so keep that in mind. Throw that Berg, throw that Luna very high. You can see it's just carrying that, dude. Luna definitely carried that straight line, and it went 30, maybe 40 feet past the Bergs with the same amount of effort. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's up to you at this point. Try and get it to you. This might not be accurate. We'll see. A little left. You're not going to see it, but I don't really like putting the Berg on too much of hyzer. Definitely flies a little weird, but that was beautiful. Give that some height and it's going to drop right in front of you. The reason I'm making this video is to just walk you through without you having to buy, because the one thing I did with this disc is I bought it off of hype purposes instead of actually researching into how it feels, and I kind of regret getting it. Really up to you. I just want you guys to see how this thing is and if you really need it. No one really talked about this disc for a really long time. The hype was really big recently, especially over the past year. Everyone's been talking about the Berg. So I had to try it, especially for content purposes. If you saw a video earlier on my channel, I actually played 9 holes with this disc and only this disc. It wasn't great. It's one of my first videos, so beware if you do watch it. But it's still a good video. It shows you really how this thing just drops. A lot of shank issues with it as well. So be wary with that when you do get it, because of the grip. It's just so weird.
Changes when in love, yeah. I surround my soul with the positivity. That's why I don't worry about the things that I don't see. These days I don't
My glasses. Straight line though. Nice turn on it. That K3 Berg is actually really nice. It's crazy. It has a really nice subtle fade compared to my K1 Berg. It's just kind of hard. Ooh. Do I want that Berg? Go! Short, dude. I gave some height there, a little too much. Jeez. Shank City. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you can tell that Berg has a stronger fade. Do I have a stable Berg? Boring. Certified boring. It's actually going to do it for the video. It's getting really dark, as you can see. I'm going to use my flashlight here. My camera doesn't like this. I probably look mischievous right now, huh? Ooh, go. All right, overall review on the Berg. I actually really like this disc today. It flew pretty well. It kept its height pretty well, and it got what I needed it to do today. But over the past month, I've been throwing this at the course, and it's gotten me up and down in the basket. That's really the only reason I threw it, just to get up and down in the basket, under 200 feet, where I just want to get out either with a birdie or a par, just to get out scot-free. And I can see why people use this, but will it stay in my bag? No, not at all, I don't think. If I had to give it a rating out of 10, Joey gave it a 6, I believe. So I'd say I'd go lower than that, maybe a 5, because I think there's just way better options out there. I say get a disc that's like a, you know, 3-speed putter, like a Luna, Invader, if it's 2 only putters I can think of, AVR, you know, all the main putters on the market, Challengers. They're going to give you that glide. In the Berg, I just think it limits your game in a way, but I can see why people throw it. The disadvantages, the distance obviously, and the grip. I think those are the 2 main things that people really hate about it. Let me know, you Berg enthusiasts, down in the comments down below. I know you're out there. What do you think about this disc? Is this something that you think it is worth investing in? Because I don't. Hopefully you know a little bit more about this disc. Thank you to Joe Mama Games for helping me with this video. He will definitely be in plenty of more videos. Go subscribe to his channel. Yeah, he's gonna have plenty of content coming soon. Peace, homies. I'm going away. I'm a ghost. It's almost Halloween. Get ready for it. I know you're getting ready. Subscribe. Almost at 1,000. We're pretty much there, right? Oh man, this looks very creepy. This is